Going into your first meeting with a publisher, it's natural to feel like everything is on their terms. In this video, we'll cover three important topics that will help level the playing field: what the publisher wants from this call, what your goals should be, and we'll come back to that last one. Okay, here's the scenario. You've sent your game pitch to a publisher, and now they want to meet. Oh, don't be so dramatic. This is what we've been working for. If a publisher wants to set up a call, you're already well ahead of most developers. First off, you can relax a little because that initial meeting won't include an offer. It's likely the publisher just wants to ask some clarifying questions and get to know the team. Commonly, it's stuff like, how do the puzzles and difficulty develop beyond what we played? Or, your schedule seems aggressive, does it take X into consideration? If you're misaligned on cost, part of this call might be to explore ways to make the numbers work. At some point, the numbers will speak for themselves, but there's more nuance into understanding the team. So when I take these intro calls, I'm more focused on the humans behind the project. Are these good people I could see myself working with for the next 5 years? Do I believe they can deliver on their vision? And are they passionate about this particular idea? On these calls, I'm looking for developers who can answer this question. What do you want out of a publisher? You might think, well, you're the publisher, don't you know what you do?
That sounds good. I'll have that.
In reality, there's no one-size-fits-all publishing relationship. Yes, publishers know what they offer, but they don't know what you think you need or what you even think a publisher does. Perception isn't reality, and not all publishers are created equally. As an example, some developers want nothing to do with marketing or social media, and others have strong opinions about both. The publisher can't guess at these kinds of preferences. How much thought you've put into the relationship, how aligned you are, and how well you articulate your needs are all big factors in whether you and this publisher are right for each other. Between that and how well you click, there's usually enough to know if you'd work well together. Since we're assuming none of this matters if the numbers don't work, these less tangible things make up the bulk of what a publisher will be looking for in that first call. But what should you be looking for? Heading into this call, you're probably very curious about funding amounts, rev share, and other terms, and while you can ask those things, it shouldn't be the focus of this call. Those sorts of questions will be far more relevant once the publisher extends an offer. On this call, you should be looking for who their team is and how they operate, how you align on key strategies, and what experience they have in areas where you're weakest. Look at it this way. You are interviewing them for the role of publisher. I realize that might sound odd, but this is a key concept I think a lot of developers overlook. Yes, you're trying to convey everything we covered in the previous section, but you should also be focused on whether you want to work with them. Find out about their team with questions like, who would be my point of contact and what is their role? Or, how do you allocate resources to ensure every team gets what they need? If you can ask publisher-specific questions like, I noticed you're on a 4-day work week. How has this impacted your day-to-day? You get useful information while also conveying the thoughtfulness we spoke about earlier.
Party, bonus.
You'll also want to find out whether you agree on key strategies with questions like, we want to be more active on TikTok. Do you see value in that platform and does your team have time to help with that? Or, what are your thoughts on in-person events versus online showcases? If you find out after signing a deal that you don't agree with the publisher on things like these, it's not the end of the world, but it's much better to hash them out beforehand. Lastly, find out what they have actual experience with using questions like, we're trying to plan ahead for porting. Are there things you'd recommend we do now to save us all time later? And, we're very comfortable with Steam, but we don't know anything about launching on consoles. How familiar are you with that process? Aside from getting some free advice, questions like these tell you a ton about the publisher while also demonstrating you're mature enough to know what you don't know and admit to it. That's a win-win-win. It's a good look for you. Your goal is to come prepared with questions that will paint a clearer picture of the publisher while also demonstrating you've done your homework. Unless you're at the end of a truly comprehensive chat, there's nothing more deflating to a publisher than a developer who says, not really, when you ask them if they have any questions for you. Don't be this developer. Taking calls like these puts developers on the spot, which means they sometimes feel pressure to have all the answers. But often making a snap judgment is worse than giving no answer at all. So let me leave you with these two bits of empowering advice. If you're asked something you don't have an answer to, respond with something like, "That's a great question, but I don't want to make that call myself. Can I talk to the team and get back to you?" Not only does this give you some room to think off your feet, it also opens a door to continue the conversation.
Just through the other door, please.
Likewise, the publisher may ask you to estimate something live on the call. For example, how soon can we see a build with more levels? In an attempt to please, you're almost certainly going to lowball yourself. If a publisher puts you on the spot, it's okay to respond with something like, "That sounds doable, but let me run a few scenarios and get back to you. I want to get this right." If a publisher won't give you some time to do your diligence, they're probably not going to be very fun to work with. So either you unearth a red flag or you get the time you need to give the publisher a well thought out answer. Going into this meeting, review the publisher's catalog so you can do more than nod along when they refer to their games as examples. And as we discussed in the first video, be ready to answer the question, why do you want to work with us, as well as what are your expectations of a publisher? Remember to go into this conversation understanding that the publisher is as curious about you as they are about your project. And similarly, you're not playing the lotto hoping your number is called. This conversation is your chance to decide whether you want to trust the publisher with your game. If you're looking for more strategies for finding a publisher, check out the other videos in this series. Thank you for watching, and until next time, please be kind to yourself and be kind to others. I'll see you in the next video. Sure hope I got that. I am not doing a second take.